Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to support our sponsor, OnPay. So please check them out at onpay.com so we can continue to share these important stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Kip Coombs, and he is with Speakeasy. Welcome, Kip.
Hi, good morning.
So tell us about Speakeasy. Who do you serve, and how do you do it?
Sure. Well, we've been around for 47 years, and our primary focus is in helping executives and their teams communicate more effectively to have a greater impact on business results. We've got offices around the world. Our U.S. headquarters is here in Atlanta. Our international headquarters is in Amsterdam. We're also in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. And then we've got operational hubs in Mumbai, Shanghai, Dubai, London, and Boston, so that we're able to serve all of our clients who are spread all over the world.
So now when you say communicate better, helping your clients communicate better, what does communicate mean in today's world? Does that mean be more effective on TikTok? Does it mean, standing up in front of a crowd and being able to, be charismatic? What does communication mean in business today?
Well, sure. I mean, communication is not a complex animal. It's pretty simple, actually. There's two parts to it. There is you as a human being trying to deliver information or communicate or inspire through the spoken word. And we call that aspect of your communication style. So really things like your comfort, your confidence, how you engage, your energy, looking and sounding credible about subject matter, voice, nonverbal communication, all those things that make up how we experience people in the moment. And then the other part of your communication is what you're actually saying, your content, your messaging, your story. And we've been providing services for 47 years that address those competencies. And now in the virtual world, it's even it's interesting. Virtual's become a competency in and of itself. So you've got your style and you've got your content. And now, because of the pandemic, it's really flushed out the importance of virtual being an effective competency too.
So now, historically, has this service you're providing been for the higher level folks at a company? Has this been for leadership or C-suite?
It's actually all levels of an organization. So every year we work with about 5,000 people, and they range from early career professionals who are exiting university and going into the workforce. These could be high potentials, managers, directors. And then we've also got a client list of C-suite executives that are the ones that are on shows like yours. They're interviewed on all the CNBC shows. We run the whole gamut.
And then, so when you're working with these folks, historically, a lot of your work has been done in person, I guess, in a classroom setting or face-to-face. When the pandemic struck, did that require a big shift in your, I guess, the way you're delivering it, but maybe not in the content itself? Yeah,
the real shift that happened was clearly in March and April and part of May. Nobody was traveling. Either they couldn't travel, didn't want to travel, didn't feel comfortable traveling. So the number of programs and solutions that we were delivering in person, whether they were coming to us or we were going to them, really shifted to a virtual format. The need was still there, and the clients still wanted to have access to Speakeasy. The biggest change was we started doing much more virtually than we ever have before in the past.
Now, now that you move, at least a mindset shift, I would think somewhat in that, okay, this is now virtual as part of the experience. Did that open up new avenues where you can do now we can reach more people because we can record these things and they can just buy them when they need them without having kind of a human interaction? Or do you only still do that kind of as needed in real time experience?
No, I think what a couple of things got exposed to Speakeasy through of all this. One, we've identified that there are multinational companies with geographically dispersed employees all over the world that simply never had access to live instruction, live coaching, live training, because the cost was too prohibitive to get them there. And being able to provide the same quality of service that we've been doing for 47 years in person virtually has opened up a brand new pipeline for Speakeasy. It's absolutely great. The other thing that got flushed out through all of this too is how important being effective virtually is. We've got executives who are trying to lead and inspire and engage teams virtually. We've got business development teams out there who are trying to retain clients or acquire clients, and they're having to do so in these virtual chat rooms now where sometimes they're looking at names on a black box and they can't get a read for the room. They can't see how engaged they are. It's been a really difficult environment for them, and being able to have access to a company like Speakeasy where they can experience how to communicate more effectively in a virtual platform has been a godsend for them.
Now, with so many people working remotely and working from home being now just kind of the norm, and moving forward, it seems a lot of companies are going to have mentally made that shift as well, that this is the kind of their new normal. Are there some tips you can share on how to be effective on like a Zoom call like that? Do you see some mistakes that people are making that are like, these are kind of easy fixes if you just do this, or just the lighting this way, or look at this instead of that? Can you share some kind of advice?
Oh, sure. I mean, and we're not a tips and trick company. There are lots of white papers out there where you can read some simple do this or do that, some fundamentals around virtual. What we're really trying to help people do is identify the key communication behaviors that will best engage, drive results, inspire others through the virtual medium. But some of the things at a high level that we talk about and look at that are simple, your backdrop, lighting, looking at the camera rather than looking at the name or the person on the screen, your visual image. And then one of the key points of differentiation for Speakeasy out there are instructors. About half of the instructor core here at Speakeasy are licensed speech pathologists. And your voice is a tool virtually, and your voice energy and enunciation, articulation, pace of dialogue, those are all super important in a virtual world. And we're very uniquely suited to help people do that more effectively.
So you mentioned that you're not a tips and tricks organization, that you're trying to get more into the systemic, holistic way that people are communicating and want to get kind of, I guess, root causes of why they're having challenges and get a better solution for them. Walk me through what happens when you're working with an executive for the first time and they may think that they're doing okay, that they're comfortable with the way they speak and that it's been working so far because they're in this, they're an executive.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things that we bring to the table with that. First, we're a very reputable, objective third party that can really bring to light what current reality is for a lot of these executives that we're working with. And most of them have been going through their career with what we call the big white lie, which is, they're all told by their staff how good they are, how effective they are, because nobody wants to tell the boss what they really think. So to be able to be put into an environment where they can get some honest and open information about how they come across, and we provide them with that type of feedback. And feedback isn't criticism. It's simply information about how people might experience them. And then most importantly, our instructors don't teach, they guide. They help these executives really identify what will be important for them around how they want to be seen and how they want to be heard. And while they're working with us, we're undoing the years and years and years of behaviors that they could have been confronting for the very first time with us, with Speakeasy. And then more importantly, undoing those and trying on and reinforcing the behaviors that they want. So that when they leave, they're able to walk into a room and move the audience to the destination of their choice with the communication behaviors that are important to them.
Can you share maybe a common challenge that even a decent speaker has that you're able to take them to a different or higher level in terms of effectiveness? Is there something you see go, okay, this is something that's fairly common and this is how we fix that?
Well, I wouldn't say that anything is common. We're all different human beings. We come to the table, you are who you are, shaped by life. Your parents, your teachers, life experiences, trauma. So we're all in different places of our life and different communication behaviors because of the world that's out there. So I wouldn't say that there's a common theme. Ones that do come up, usually, speakers aren't born. They are, it's something that you've got to work on. It's a skill and it's a competency. People are still uncomfortable, whether they're an accomplished speaker or not. So this notion of comfort and confidence and being able to understand what's going on with your body physically when you start to feel, some people call them butterflies. We call it juice, which is that adrenaline or restlessness that starts to happen to your body when you know you have to speak, you're about to speak, or somebody impromptu asks you to get up and communicate a point of vision. For others, trust is important. They want to be trusting as a leader. Energy, authenticity, connecting and engaging. Those are the big themes that we see and we work on quite often.
So now as you've kind of made this pivot from, traveling around the globe to these places to this, I think you're calling it Speakeasy virtual, is there kind of what from the user experience side of things, obviously there's not in person, but what does a class like that look like?
It's actually no different than what you would experience if you were coming to one of our offices or we were sending one of our instructors to the client site location. It's still live instruction, small group, peer experiences delivered by the same full-time, fully dedicated, highly credentialed Speakeasy instructors. The only difference is the virtual medium that we're delivering it on, whether it's Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or WebEx.
So you're kind of technology agnostic from that standpoint.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we clearly, if Microsoft is a client, we don't want to be using Zoom. And if we're doing work with Cisco, we want to use WebEx. But we do our best to use the technologies that are out there and also aware that some of them are being sold by our clients. So we want to make sure we're being right for them too.
Now, what about for your own staff? How did they make this transition from them being used to being in person and seeing and being in the room to this virtual? Was there any kind of friction there, or did your team pretty much kind of get to it pretty easily? Well,
we've been delivering virtual services. I mean, Accenture is a big client of ours. So they're a geographically remote company with employees all over the world. And we've been providing virtual services to them for a number of years. So our staff was very comfortable using the technology and delivering services. The other thing, Speakeasy as a company, I've got offices and employees all around the world. So we're all about human engagement and human connection. So wherever possible, we're not trying to use the phone or have conference calls. We're trying to see and connect each other, and we're using virtual technology to do that. So going into this, we are a global organization that was connecting with our people virtually, and we've been doing virtual services. So it wasn't a big shift for Speakeasy.
Now, as the pandemic wanes, is there, what's your kind of vision into the future? Is there virtual is now just on the menu as part of what you're offering? Or do you think it'll just kind of fade away as people begin to travel again?
Yeah, I don't think virtual is ever going to go away. I think what this is going to highlight is a new market segment for Speakeasy and a importance around virtual communication and virtual communication effectiveness for a lot of companies who quickly realized that they were ill-equipped to make that shift and continue to lead, run organizations, sell, tell their story. So Speakeasy as a company, we've got in-person programs that are starting again back here in Atlanta this week, actually, starting on Wednesday. And we're slowly getting those going in our other offices around the world as people phase into different parts of return to work. And clients are asking us now for dates to send instructors to them in late summer and going into the fall. And then virtual, it's here to stay with Speakeasy. So we're going to continue to provide virtual programs and virtual learning to people that just will never have access to live instruction. So it's a great opportunity for us. It's a brand new practice group, and it's a growth opportunity.
Now, what's the pain that these companies are having while they're managing the pandemic that where they should move Speakeasy higher up in the priority?
Well, one, not understanding how important communicating virtually is. And we've got individuals who are being asked now to speak at virtual events and virtual conferences because they're unable to attend in person. It could be new for them. They've never done that. And there could be a lot riding on that speaking engagement for them personally and professionally. And being able to do that in a way that has them seen and heard the way that they want to get the expected business outcome is only going to be done if they work at it and work at how they do it virtually and how they come across. And then the other part is virtual content and messaging, and your story has got to be very concise because virtual audiences have limited attention span. And making sure that they do that effectively is going to be important. There are teams out there who are trying to have business meetings. They're trying to get contracts, and doing that in a virtual world is extremely difficult. I mean, think about how does a presentation team now virtually interact, play off each other, segue from presenter to presenter, understand who's going to answer what question, deal with screen shares and visuals. I mean, it's a very tricky animal. And there are companies out there that do it really good, and usually because they're coached by companies like Speakeasy. And there are companies out there that are simply winging it, thinking that they're good enough, which usually isn't, and they're squandering opportunities.
But you have the challenge of just kind of working together as a team while you present, but it's also the ability to read the room has changed dramatically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could be meeting with a board or, it could be a job interview, and you've got maybe one person's on screen that you can see and two that you don't. How in the world do you understand how you're coming across when you can't read the room? And it's really, really tricky.
So you cover that as well in your teachings?
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about all these different communication scenarios that you could possibly be going through to help them understand things they can do differently to have a greater impact.
Well, if somebody wanted to learn more about Speakeasy, what's the website?
Yeah, go to speakeasyinc.com, www.speakeasyinc.com.
And that'll get them to, if they're interested in the virtual, that'll get them there as well?
Absolutely. All of our services can be accessed via speakeasyinc.com.
Good stuff. Well, Kip, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Oh, thanks for having us. You have a great morning.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio. And remember, without the support of our sponsor, OnPay, we could not be sharing these important stories.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.